You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me, $10 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Best Wishes to You, who says, rant about how subverting tropes is made pointless if the audience has no knowledge of the trope to begin with. For example, supposedly, the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya has characters who subvert the expectations of the trope they are based on, but when I first watched it, I was a new anime fan and didn't have any knowledge of anime tropes and character cliches. So my view of the show is that it was another stupid harem comedy with a bland main character and 3 harem girls with gimmicks attached to them, plus a hot male character thrown in as yaoi bait. With the only standout good thing about the show being its ED, which is what brought me to the show in the first place after seeing many parodies of it on YouTube. So I don't really think that the Haruhi characters are like that subversive necessarily. I don't think you were even wrong with your assessment. It's more about playing with the meta of anime. I mean, yeah, it is a fucking harem show where the guy is just surrounded by hot girls and a yaoi bait guy. But the show is, that's the joke, you know? And that joke is not necessarily going to be funny to everybody, regardless of whether, you appreciate those tropes or not. You see this as subversive. I mean, it's funny that you say you were a new anime fan, but you already had the expectation of what a stupid harem comedy with a bland main character and harem girls is. Like, that is the trope that the show is supposedly subverting. So if you recognized that trope, then you did know the tropes that the show is supposedly subverting. You just weren't impressed with the level of subversion, I guess, or the amount of play with the meta. I really don't think the appeal of Haruhi is that it is subversive at all. I think the appeal of it has really more to do, I mean, for one thing, it's somewhat of a time and place thing, because it was extremely influential, and so a lot of what it did is now normal. And there are shows that have taken some of the same ideas and done them more poorly, and so, maybe that feeling that this show is cliche comes from the fact that some of the cliches started here, Maybe these characters would have been seen as more subversive before there were a bunch of other characters made to be like them. But, to me, watching the show originally, it was a combination of it being told out of order, the really beautiful visuals, character designs, the memorability of the characters, and just how, crazy the story would get. Like, the fact that, it's revealed that Yuki is, this fucking alien who's from a data-integrated thought entity that can manipulate reality, and there's the whole scene where she gets, stabbed by all the swords and just pulls them out and all that shit, and, all that was fucking mind-blowing at the time. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening? This is madness. And, all the exposition dumps and stuff, people will say, oh, it's meant to be funny, it's meant to be a parody of exposition. No, it is an exposition dump. It's just interesting exposition, at least to me. I like the world idea, because particularly for me, when I was that age, I had a similar kind of, God complex of, oh, the world is just a fabricated reality of my creation, So, and I related to Haruhi's reasons for why she thought that way. When we got into her backstory, it was like, oh, shit, this is how I feel, So, there was, it's the ability to connect with the characters, the strength of production, which again is something that might not come through as much if you're new to anime. And I mean, I don't think I appreciated even at the time just how high caliber the show is in terms of things like that. I definitely think Haruhi is a show that is meant to be enjoyed by otaku. It is meant to be for people who are already big into anime. So I think you're absolutely right to say that the show is not effective if you're a new anime fan. Although there are tons of people who've gotten into anime through Haruhi, because again, its presentation of tropes will lend itself well to, anything else. So I think a lot of people just aren't bothered by the things that bothered you about the show. But do I think you will magically like it just because you return to it with knowledge of the tropes? No, I don't think so. It's not for everybody, and no show is. But, it was right for a lot of people at the time, because it was really the right show at the right time, culturally, for otaku. And it will always hold up for me, because I'll always remember that time, and I'll always be able to, put myself back into that sort of mind space. But I don't know how it resonates. You know, I don't know if people get the same things out of it, even if they do love it, as people would have at the time that it came out. So, yeah.